Oh, good evening. We're live. It is Friday, the 14th of September, Hurricane Day, and seems like almost the anniversary of last year's September Hurricane Day. I think it's about 3 or 4 days different, but I guess this is something we need to learn to expect every deadgum September when comes in the Atlantic and is the first one really to hit the upper East Coast. I think we've had one down in Florida on the east side before, but it's a pattern, and this was a big scary storm. Now it's a dwindling but still scary storm because it's only moving forward at about 3 miles an hour, maybe five. It varies from one report to the next, but it's huge. It's got a big footprint and it's got a hell of a lot of rain in it. So we feel for those people on the coastal edge of the states of North and South Carolina and those yet to come, be it Virginia, Georgia, or wherever it goes. It's been kind of unpredictable, but right now the edge of the rain bands are just starting to brush my part of South Carolina, which is just central South Carolina, and so it's going to get windier and it's going to get rainier as we go along with the show tonight. And so if I suddenly disappear, that might explain where I've been. The power's already flicked off once shortly today, and I wouldn't be surprised if it does it again. So with that, we'll welcome our first guest, Mr. Bob Hunt. How you doing tonight?
Hey, Rusty, how you doing? Are you okay?
I'm good. Yeah, so far so good.
Where do you live in relation to the coast?
I live about 110 miles to 120 from the coast, and that would be Charleston. You know, from Charleston up around Litchfield Beach, Pawleys Island. Those are my stomping grounds, Litchfield and Pawleys, and it's moving so slowly that it's just grinding on the coast and barely creeping 5 miles an hour towards us.
Wow.
And so as it does, it doesn't seem to have any shortage of rain to drop on us. So it's going to be a wet one. The
Good.
winds are sort of down now. It's a tropical storm instead of a hurricane now, but that doesn't help the ones it's
Mm.
already hit. So
My brother lives in Waxhaw, North Carolina, which is just a little bit east of Charlotte, and I guess he's getting hit with some stuff.
they they're likely getting rain now. That's on about the same longitudinal line that I'm on. Charlotte's straight north from Columbia, where I live on I-77. So yeah, if he's a little east of Charlotte, he's probably starting to get rain bands now.
Yeah. Well, he's hunkered down. He'll be all right.
It's the utilities that I don't want to lose. I'm not that worried about the wind this far inland, although we do sometimes get enough wind to do some damage. The wetter the ground is, the worse the damage is too, because those oak trees, become loose in the soil and they'll get blown over. But it's just something you got to wait out and hope for the best. There's not a damn thing you can do about Mother Nature.
Nope. Nope. Nope.
Jackson Havley's joined us on YouTube. Good evening, Jack. Good to see you with us. And I did something I haven't done in the past. Actually, I didn't post it yet, but there it is. I posted the link to join us live on camera if you wish to in the YouTube chat box. So,
Yeah, come on in, man.
what'd you say? Thought I heard you say something.
Yeah, I said, tell him to come on in.
Yeah, yeah, anybody that visits YouTube and sees that link, if you are logged into the Stunthangar control line forums, then you can use that link. Otherwise, you need to be logged into Stunthangar because that's a members only thread that I put the link to. But yeah, if you want to join Stunthangar, then we'll have to talk you in, and it might take a day or so to get everything worked out with Sparky, unless he's right here with us. But anyway, so It looks like this is my first chance to think about something other than a storm all day. So,
Yeah, let's do that.
yeah, let's do it. I got something for show and tell tonight. I'm going to wait and go into detail about it and when everybody gets here, but I'll show you since got to have something to talk about. Is I've got this. Let me click on me so I'm highlighted for everybody, or I'm at least I'm locked in for the YouTubers. This is a Fox 36X needle bearing engine that's got the Larry Scarinzi modifications on the porting, on the intake porting and the crankshaft, and it's got a Super Tiger needle in it, so I can use these pacifier bladders. I need to get them out of the bag. I'll get them out of the bag later so I can show everybody in detail. But this is a badass little engine. They took this out in the rain up in New Jersey last Sunday and flew it in a driving rain and clocked it at 108 miles per hour on a Super Satan just like mine.
By the way, that's not New Jersey. It's Jersey.
Jersey, excuse me. I have to learn to say it right. It just doesn't roll off the tongue like it should.
We fish with worms and we go out with nices. Jersey.
Thanks for straightening me out on that. Yeah, I don't want to offend my benefactors here. So that's Tom Luciano, Al Ferraro, and C.T. Schaefer. I believe it's C.T. But those are the guys that collaborated on that engine and got it ported right. And of course, they were using the great Larry Scarinzi's specifications. So it ought to run good. I'm really stoked about it. Can't wait to hear it bark. And Tom says it's a head turner when you crank it up. People look to see what's going on. So
I've flown a number of Larry's Super Satans with that type engine in it, and they were a lot of fun to fly.
Yeah, you don't want it to get ahead of you, but I've flown a plane that fast before, so I think I can do it. I'm going to make sure I'm physically fit enough, and if I'm not, when Huntersville comes along, I'll let somebody else fly it, and I'll wait until I am, because I'm not going to wreck that plane after all the trouble, that those guys went through to get me set up with it. I really appreciate their efforts.
Yeah, they're good guys. I'll tell you a funny story. Years ago, Larry brought a Super Satan out to the field. He said, "Hey, we were there all alone." He said, "You want to fly it?" I said, "Yeah, sure." So rolled out the lines and got me out there, and I thought something didn't feel quite right. Started up and launched it, and the thing was going so fast, it was just like a blur. But I was able to get through a stunt pattern. It wasn't a very good stunt pattern, but I flew the whole pattern with the airplane at about 130 miles an hour.
Wow.
When I landed, he was mad. I said, "What's the matter?" He says, "Oh, darn." He says, "I put you on lines that were like 6 feet shorter than they're supposed to be."
I bet it was a blur.
It was a blur. But I did the pattern anyway. He was mad about it. He said, "Oh, rats," he says, "I didn't think you'd be able to fly it."
I'm impressed to go through the pattern on short lines nonetheless at all.
Well, it wasn't a very recognizable pattern.
No, I wouldn't expect so.
But I got all the maneuvers in, so.
Yeah. What I found out, and I've only flown a plane that fast a couple of times, and that would be my half-A Gladiator, which is a small combat plane with an AME engine on it, and Mike Leinke tells me that it's probably just a tad faster than the Super Satan, but doesn't pull nearly as hard. But so I know from that experience that I can fly it. But as far as flying a pattern with it, what I found out when I flew the Gladiator the first couple of times is if you feel like it's getting away from you, just keep it turning. If you can keep it turning, then you'll be okay. It doesn't matter where you turn it or how you turn it, as long as you keep it up in the air and turn in corners. You can stand there and get your wits about you and then go back around into, if you want to do any freestyle fancy flying, or as my flying buddy Wayne calls it, whifferdills. But yeah, that's my advice to anybody to fly something that's too fast for them at first, is just keep it turning. It'll stay up there.
Yeah, I grew up watching
behind my head and actually flew it behind me for it's what seemed like a couple of minutes. I know it was just a few seconds, but I didn't think it was ever going to run out of gas. And I did pancake it trying to get it back around, but I can usually fly a full tank out without hitting the ground with it. So I think I'll be okay with the Super Satan.
I grew up watching Red and Reinhardt and Larry Scarinzi fly super fast airplanes up at the Union Model Airplane Club, where we flew Thursday nights. From the time I was just a little kid, you know, with Red worked for my dad for 30 some odd years. So he was like a fixture around the house, and so was Larry. So I got to watch them fly all their airplanes, you know, every Thursday night. You know, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
What an inspiration.
Yeah, no kidding. I grew up as a solo. I didn't even know anybody else did this until I was a grown up, so to speak, and then got into you know, going to clubs when I outgrew my field across the street from the house. That's how just a few years ago, that's how I got into clubs and contest flying, and that's been the greatest thing that ever happened to me. You know, I got
the opposite. Everybody my father knew was a model airplane flyer. I mean, virtually everybody who came to the house, Leon Schulman and Fran McGolwey, and just everybody were model airplane flyers. And I was about 8 years old before I realized that not everybody in the whole world flew model airplanes.
Yeah.
You know?
I think I was, I got a guess, but I think I was probably 12 when I bought that first Cox model at Western Auto and took it home. And my dad claimed to have done this before, but he taught me to hold the handle, what now I know is upside down, but I didn't know that until it was ingrained deeply into my muscle memory, and I'm not going to change now. And the biggest disadvantage of that is that I can't teach people how to fly, and I can't hand the handle off easily without prior instruction on which way to grab it. And you know, that kind of thing. But people get upset when they see me holding the handle backwards and say that's a good way to run it into the ground, but that's the way I fly. You know,
there was a recent thread on Stunthangar about that very thing, and talking about some of the people who flew that way. There were a lot of really good flyers who flew with the down is up, up is down thing, you know. And Dougie Stout was one of them that I knew very well. And it was such an odd thing to watch him fly. It was disconcerting to watch him fly, because I didn't want to watch, because it made me nervous, you know, that I would get out there and do something wrong, you know. But,
and I do have one guy that I've seen that flies who I think he holds the handle the correct way, except he holds it like I do, which is overhand fisted, and that's Igor. I noticed he flies like this, and, but of course my handle's flipped over the other way from his. But at least there's somebody else that's up. Well,
a lot of people that do
this
that.
is up for me, you know, and this is down. I actually use my elbow for down more, and my inverted flight is always more controlled than my right side up flight. When I'm pulling out of maneuvers, I can always snap a better bottom pulling out of an inverted, you know, pulling out inverted than I can pulling out upright.
Well, I was taught right from the beginning to hold the handle straight up and down.
Yeah, I wish I'd learned that way.
Just perpendicular to the ground. And I'm really glad I learned that way, because
it makes a lot of sense.
It's a lot easier, yeah.
When I look at it and say, you could learn to do that. But the times I've had when my fingers started failing with carpal tunnel, I got to where I was dropping the handle and I'd reach out with my left hand, grab it, put it back in. Well, there were a time or two when I put it in up backwards, and I realized that it's harder to fly with the handle turned around. You know, if I were to try to learn to fly like this with the handle turned the other way too, it's not as easy as it looks. So,
you know, years ago, Bill Simons and Gene Schaefer and I were going together out to a contest at Mitchell Field, Long Island, and it was, or as they say in New York, Long Island.
Long Island. Okay, that's another one I got to commit to my vocabulary.
We went out there and it was windier than the son of a gun. It was like, I don't know, 20-mile-an-hour wind, and nobody showed up. Whoever showed up turned around and left right away. But Billy and Gene and I hung around for a while if the wind would come down, we could at least get some practice in. You know, it was a really nice open site. And it never did come down. It just got worse. So Gene started wind flying, you know, dead stick. He started that, and it intrigued me. So I had my Caprice, the original one. And this was like in the Caprice was built in 67, but this was right at the end. So it was like in early March of 69. And we were out there flying, and I decided to try wind flying. And Bill Simons, always being the voice of reason, said, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And I went and did it anyway. And I was doing okay until I started to try to do, Gene called out, he says, do some squares. And I missed the wind, and I shattered the airplane.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I've seen a picture of the Caprice.
And there was pieces blowing down the runway into oblivion. So at any rate, Gene felt bad about goading me into doing it, which he really didn't. I mean, I wanted to do it. So he said, well, he says, come back to my apartment here in Astoria, and you can pick out one of my old airplanes and you can use that. And I said, Gene, you fly left-handed and clockwise, and I fly right-handed counterclockwise. He said, no problem. He says, just put the up line of the handle to the down line of the airplane and vice versa, and then take off as if you're flying your own airplane inverted, and you could fly it. And with that plan, Billy Simons was fairly sure we were going to lose 2 airplanes in one day instead of just one. But we didn't. I was able to take off and flip it over. So in my mind, I was still flying my airplane upright, but his airplane was inverted. And I actually got so I could do the whole pattern from the inverted position that way, and actually placed in a couple of contests without appearance points, of course, on the East Coast. That was a lot of fun. I flew all his airplanes, the Stunt Machine and the Hallmark and the Judge.
Yeah. You mean without pattern points?
Yeah, without appearance points. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I flew a lot of his airplanes. They were great flying airplanes.
67 or 68, that's when Chevy came out with the Caprice as a trim level of the Impala, I believe.
Yeah, 67.
Is that where it got the name for it?
That's where I got the name. Well, you know, there was a guy named Eddie Elastic in the Circle Bearers Club, and I was in Union Club, and I would watch from the spectator side of the fence before I flew competition aerobatics, and he had an airplane called the Impala, and I always liked that. And I always been a Chevy guy, had Corvettes and stuff, you know. So I named it the Caprice when that came out, you know.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. One trim level up. So that's
yeah,
good.
Yeah, it was a good airplane. Matter of fact, this guy Ken Bird from up in Canada, he just sent me, I'll see if I can print one off here. He sent me pictures of, I sent him a wing, and he ordered a wing, and I sent him one, and he built a Caprice, and I think it may be one of the prettiest Caprices ever built. Let me see if I can find a picture of that.
While you're looking, I'll read what Jack Snavely wrote on YouTube. He says, if you stop turning and hold the handle at a 40%, he might mean degree angle, and don't move, some planes will go into a lazy 8 pattern. That repeat. Yeah, that makes sense. I've heard that. I have not actually tested that, but so I hear. And I just saw Al Ferraro flash in. Hey, good evening, Al.
Hey, Rusty.
Yeah. How you doing, Ray? You going up to the contest on Sunday?
Yeah, I can't. I'm going to go up there with my son. I can't fly because I have to watch my son. I have a handicapped son.
Oh.
My wife has. My wife and my girls are going to a baby shower, so that you know, and my son needs attention. He can't be left alone. So.
Oh, can some of us watch him while you fly?
Excuse me?
Can some of us just watch him while you're flying?
No, because he'll want to run out to me.
Oh.
He's so strong, like he'll just break away from somebody. You have to really to hold him back. You know.
How old is he?
He's 28.
Yeah, I can.
You know,
I bet that is a challenge.
Yeah. So
here's a picture of that Caprice I was telling you about, Rusty.
Okay. Oh yeah, gorgeous.
Did a really nice job, and I'm really, really proud of him. He did a phenomenal job. That may be the prettiest Caprice ever built, right there.
Yeah, that's gorgeous. I love it.
Roger Wildman had a nice one, and Kenny Stevens had a nice one, and John Callentine had a nice one, but this one takes the cake.
Now, is that a painted aluminum spinner you've got on it?
That he's got on it, yeah. Yeah. It's a 2-inch Vico Froome, 2-inch Vico needle, just like I had on the original. But he did a nice job, boy. Wow.
And that's a glow? It looks like it's a glow engine?
Yeah, that's a glow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like it anyway.
Back in the good old days, yeah.
Yeah, I saw the exhaust stack.
Yeah.
But
mine was low. You know, my was low.
No, I remember yours. I remember when Keith had it.
Yeah.
When Keith first got it. Yeah, it ran, you know, after Keith, you know, got used to, you know, how to run it. It was flying really nice, you know. I remember I was there the first day he got it. Man, that thing took off like a rocket. It was like, you know, it was like a racing plane, like one of our warbirds.
A little too lean, huh?
Yeah, that thing had power. It was really ripping.
It had a Aero Tiger 36 in it that was a really, really good one. Randy Smith fit up a really good one for me. And it had, actually, that airplane flew so many years, it went through 2 engines. I mean, you know, that's in a classic airplane. You don't fly them that often, you know.
Right.
But I flew it so many times out of Tucson, and I went out there for 2 weeks at a time and practiced for 2 weeks. But I actually wore out. I didn't wear it out, but I needed a fresh engine after a while. And
Right.
Randy gave me 2 really good Aero Tigers. You know?
Yeah, no, that one was really super. Yeah, and I remember you showed it to me at the, what the heck was that? You know, when we had the luncheon that time.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, right. Yeah, up in Middlesex there.
Yeah, when we had that reunion or whatever it was.
Reunion, yeah, the reunion.
Yeah, a reunion of Union.
That was fun.
Yeah, that was a nice day. Too bad it had a little rain, but you know, everybody showed up and we had a real good time.
Who put that together? Was Luciano and Briaco put that together?
Yeah, they were working. Yeah.
Yeah, they did a great job. It was a lot of fun to see all those people, Ronnie Dank and all those people from the club. That'll never happen again.
No, I guess, you know.
It was a one-time thing. George Riscal.
Al, guess what I brought to show and tell tonight?
There it is.
Yeah, y'all's engine. It beat Hurricane Florence.
Yeah.
Just a few hours in the mail.
Yeah, that engine will beat a lot of things.
Yeah. But anyway, I love the diamond beveled intake on this thing. That's great.
Yeah, Tom did that so nice that I'm working on another one that I dropped it over to his house because he said he knows how to do it. I dropped it off his house the same day that we flew that the day we flew the photo when we flew it in the rain. So when I got home, Tom only lives like 10 minutes away from me. So I drove down this house and had him do one for me. And then he texted me like 2 hours later, all done. So, and actually I have it right here, but and I'm doing one, hey Gerald, you see, you see it has a diamond intake.
Yeah, I do. I'd love to have a degree wheel like that.
Yeah, this is off my racing car days, but I had your engine on this, to go through that. That's how I, You want
a degree wheel? I'll send you a degree wheel. We actually included them with one of our Stuntflyer video magazines. I'll send you one.
Oh, okay, that'd be wonderful. Thank you.
Actually, this is a direct connection one, but it's if you want to get like the same exact one that has like all it lists like all 180 180 has all the degrees on there and stuff.
Yeah.
Mr. Gasket sells it. So if you go even on Amazon and look up Mr. Gasket, I think it's an 8-inch degree wheel.
Now, Bob, understand before you deplete your tool inventory, I don't really need a degree wheel. It's just something, I'm a tool freak, and I would love to have. I've always wanted to have one, and I'd find something to use it, you know, for.
It's just a piece of paper that you mount to, you glue to a piece of plywood and put a hole in it, and you have your own degree wheel. So we sold it with the Stunthangar video magazine, and Dean Pappas was explaining how to do all that. And so we put it one in free with each DVD, you know.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Feeding back. Hey, Gerald.
Yeah, hi, Rusty. Away. Got you there.
Let me see if I can find this back. Did that? Wait a minute. Now, did that? Nope. Okay. From mute. Okay. No. Okay, let me. Did that cure it?
Yeah, it seems to have stopped now.
Yeah, that's stopped.
It's Bob.
No.
That just suddenly happened.
And this might be one of those that go away. It's still weird. It's still not right. There's still something funny.
I got Bob muted right now, but he's no good to us muted.
No.
Okay. Well, Bob, the only thing I know is turn it off and turn it on.
And now she has the other one.
Should I go reboot and come back up?
I guess so. Yeah. Unless you got a better idea.
I'll give it a try.
Okay.
Frustrating. That happens sometimes.
That's odd.
Yeah.
I naturally thought it was Gerald because you were the latest one to sign in. But anyway, while Bob's since he's seen my show and tell about 4 times already, I was just showing my new engine off that Tom Luciano collaborated with Al and C.T. Schaefer, I believe, on getting my Fox 36X running. How you like that intake? Okay, Bob, it looks like you're back and there's no feedback, and I've got you unmuted, so I can't explain why that happened.
Yeah, no big deal.
I was showing Gerald my new toy while you were busy doing that. You came back faster than I expected, but anyway, isn't that sweet?
Funny to hear you call him C.T. Schaefer. I just know him as Tommy Schaefer.
Yeah, there was some confusion about what his name was. We've got a guy like that too, Mike Lindler. Sometimes he's Carl and sometimes he's Mike, but his dad's name's Carl, and I call him Mike. But whenever he signs up on the flight board, he signs in as Carl. So I don't know.
It's funny. My father's called Carl, and my brother's called Carl. Both spelt the same, K-A-R-L. And it does create confusion when somebody rings up on the phone. The only thing now is my father's deaf, so he can't answer the phone, so that problem's gone. So they only have one Carl.
Yeah, my brother's name was Jim, and my father's name was Jim.
It does complicate life at times. Confuse the hell out of people.
Funny story about names. My real name is not Bob, it's Robin. Right? And my brother's real name is James Curtis. My father's favorite airplane was the Curtis Robin. And they named my brother James Curtis and me Robin Wayne. And he snuck that right past my mother. She had no clue what he was doing. That's a true story. I'm named after one of the ugliest airplanes of the classic era of aviation.
Oh, there's a nice one at the Reinhardt Airfield. I think it's red and yellow, quite stunning in its own way. It's quite different. Like, we were watching it the other night, the little Curtis Robin flying around, and yeah, it's definitely part of its era. I like the Ryan that Charles Lindbergh flew. It's part of its era. It definitely looks pre-war.
Yeah.
But they have a charm to them as well. The way they loft around it, they almost fly like a microlight. The speed at which they fly is so slow.
Oh, yeah.
And they have quite a quality to them.
Couldn't have named me after the Mustang or the, something like that.
Too ordinary.
We lost Rusty.
What's that?
Mm. It's weird.
We lost Rusty.
Lost our host.
Yeah.
Mind you, he might have problems with the weather. They were saying that they expect 3 million people on the Carolina coast will lose power. So
we've been watching it all day long on TV.
I wanted to ask him how he made out with. Did he evaluate his property, or didn't have a chance yet, or?
What do you mean?
Rusty, he's from the storm. Did Rusty have any damage?
Oh no, not yet. They're getting a little bit of rain and some wind, but some of the power is going out. But he's all right. He's gonna be fine so far.
Okay.
And he's inland about 100 miles or 120 miles or something. So it may be coming his way though, but it's very slow moving.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose the inland areas, it's normally the flooding. If the water can't drain away fast enough, then the rivers overflow their banks and you get the flooding occurring inland, but you don't get that surge from the sea directly. It's indirect.
Storm surge, plus they're getting over 40 inches of rain and already in some places. They're getting 5 inches an hour. So it's really piling up. A lot of trees down,
I was looking at Fox News before just to see. I was just wondering if the show would even be on, and so I had a look at Fox News, and they just said it affected a huge area. It was just the scale of it means you'll have so many outages, and it may take a week to restore power to a lot of people. But that's what we had earlier, and the start of winter, we had a really good storm, and it took out the power in some areas for over 10 days. We were without power for a week, but we've got a backup generator that I got running, and that kept us going. But a lot of people were complaining because all their freezers had defrosted, and just all the hassles you get with no power after that amount of time. It's a day or two is not too bad. You can cope with that, but when it's over a week, people really start getting a bit peeved off.
When Sandy went through, we were out for over a week, and it was challenging. It was in October. It was cold. Challenging. But, we're thinking about getting one of those Generacts. My wife works at a place where she can get it wholesale, and we're thinking about getting one of those.
You have natural gas?
Yeah, get the propane version so you can.
Do you have natural gas in the road? Or?
No, we don't have natural gas, but we can get a propane tank.
Okay. Yeah. I have a Generac, but it was I bought it back in 2000 and back in 98, 99, with all that Y2K stuff.
Yeah.
And when I moved out here in 98, the power would go off like once every 2 weeks, and I have a well, and I had 4 little kids and no water. It's no fun. So
my phone's ringing. I got to go get my phone.
Yeah, it might be Rusty.
Yeah.
He might have tried posting something. I haven't checked. I should check and see if he's posted a new link. But we're still showing as live, so I presume he hit the stream. So hopefully he'll manage to come back on. But I suppose it all just depends on what's happening there.
Yeah, we're still on. It's Rusty. If Rusty's on the phone, he just said his power went out. It just went back on. He should be back on in a second.
Okay.
That's good. Yeah, that's great.
Yes. So I invested in a generator. Like I have it's like a 14,000 watt generator that I have in my garage, and I have a disconnect, the power disconnected, and I just plug the generator into the house, and I have to start it up. Just plug it into the house, and then I just go down the basement and throw the switch, and it gives me 12 zones. I have in the box, and I run everything except I can't run my central air, and I can't run my I have an electric oven, but I run everything else, my heaters, my sump pump, my refrigerators, my I have a gas grill outside, so I have cook, my gas grill outside is hooked up to natural gas, so I can cook and stuff like that, so it's not a problem. So, so I light up the whole house that way. That was all. I did that before the craze, that happened with all that natural gas run the generators